My name is Dr. Mohan BA, working as Assistant Professor in the Department of Information Science and Engineering, BMS IT Institute of Technology and Management. Today's our topic of discussion is cascading style sheet. It's a part of web technology subject, and we'll be discussing what is style sheet and role of style sheet in web application development. So CSS stands for cascading style sheets. We'll see the role of CSS in web application development. So we have studied HTML. What is the role of HTML? HTML is an hypertext markup language, defines the structure for the web page. And HTML tags are not meant for defining the presentation or styling of the HTML elements. Instead, it is left to the CSS. CSS cascading style sheet defines the presentation and presentation or styles of an HTML tags. So CSS is a style sheet language used for describing the presentation of the document written in markup languages like HTML or XML. CSS is used to define styles for your web page. Styles can be that can include design, layout and variation in display for different devices and screen sizes. We can also use CSS for setting the font properties, color, size of the elements, borders and background images, and even we can position the elements in a web page. Okay, that is use of CSS. CSS saves a lot of time. We can define these CSS rules in a page and we can include it into web page. So we can define CSS external to the web page and we can include it. So that is called as external style sheet. We will see more about external style sheets in next slides. So we will see what are the benefits of CSS. So CSS, by using CSS, it improves the control over formatting. So as I told, HTML is for defining the structure and CSS is for defining the styles or presentation details. So CSS will give fine-grained control over the appearance of the web content. Even we can apply style for smallest element or any property of the element. So we have fine-grained control over those styles on the element. It improves the site maintainability. So websites becoming significantly more maintainable because all formatting can be centralized into CSS file. As we are separating HTML from CSS, maintaining of these files will be easier. It allows us to make site-wide visual modifications by changing a single file. So I can easily work on structure of these style sheets without affecting the one another. So it also improves accessibility. CSS driven sites are more accessible. What do you mean by accessibility? We use third-party tools like screen readers or screen scrapers take the content from the website. So this separation HTML from CSS will enrich the experience of those tools for reading the content of the web page. Usually we have heard of bots which can read the content of the web page. So by separating HTML from CSS, these tools can easily access the structure and extract the content out of the web page. So that is the improved accessibility. It also improves page download speed. So as we were discussing, we can define styles in one page, one separate file, and include it in multiple web pages. So by reusing this CSS file in multiple web pages, reduces the number of styling tags in the web pages, and it also improves the download speed of the web page. So we need to download only one CSS file and multiple web pages, and all these web pages will be accessing the common CSS file. So that's how it improves the page download speed. Improved output flexibility. CSS can be used to adapt a page for different output medias. Nowadays we have media of different sizes ranging from smartphones to the smart TVs. It can be laptop, desktop or any other media. So we can write CSS styles applicable for the different screen sizes. So different versions of CSS. In 1996, CSS1 was released by World Wide Web Consortium. We call it as W3C. After releasing CSS1, the first version in 1996, CSS2 was released in 1998, which has got little additional features added to the CSS1 version. So a group of people who were working on CSS, they continued parallelly and one more group of people who took CSS2 as the base and they improved upon it, and a new version called CSS3 was released in 1999, and parallelly in 2004 the team which was working on CSS2 they have added few more modules and released in 2004. So we had two versions, CSS 2.1 and CSS 3 in the year 2004. Later, a team which was working on CSS 3, they released one more version called CSS 4, which has got modules for CSS Pro and CSS mobile devices. So this CSS 4 has many features including box shadow, opacity, rounded corners, attribute selectors, new colors and more fonts. CSS 4 is an enhanced version of other versions of CSS, and it is always advised to use the latest version. And it also contains fixes to few bugs which are available in the previous versions, and it also improves the features and adds new features to the latest version. Next, CSS syntax. A CSS document consists of one or more style rules. So if I want to apply styles, I need to define styles in the form of rules. Okay, what is a CSS rule? CSS rule looks like this, which rule will be applied to the elements, and whatever we have defined the rule, that will be applicable to those HTML elements. So a CSS document consists of one or more style rules. This is an example for one rule which has got two parts, selector and declaration block. A single CSS rule consists of selector and declaration block. Job of selector is to select the HTML tag to which we want to apply the style, and the declaration block contains one or more declarations. So what is this declaration? Declaration contains property value. Property can be color and the value is blue. Like this, an element can have multiple properties, and each declaration will define one property at a time. Color blue, text align, justify. So these are the two declarations, and each declaration contains property and the value, and these property values are separated by the semicolon. So semicolon at the last declaration is optional, okay, and semicolon other than the last is mandatory to separate the declarations. So this is called CSS rule, style rule. So properties. Declaration contains property value pair, and when it comes to the property, what is the property of an element? So every element will have the properties, like if I say take a font is in if I take a text is an element which has properties like text color, text size, okay, text style, etc. So each individual CSS declaration must contain a property. So at least one declaration will have a property and a value. Property, what is property? For different elements we have different properties. If I take font, we have properties like font family, font size, font style, font weight. If I take a text will have letter spacing, line height, text align, text decoration, and text indent. Similarly, if I take color property, if I take color, then it has got properties like background color, background color, background image, background position, background repeat, and the color. So if I take borders, it has got properties like border color, border width, border style, border top color, top width, etc. Similarly, when I talk about spacing, we have different properties for spacing. One is padding and the margins. Padding have properties like padding bottom, padding left, right and top. Margin have properties like margin bottom, left, right and top. Sizing has properties like height, max width, min height, min width and width. Similarly, layout, we have different types of layouts, and we can set the properties for the layout with the help of these properties: bottom, left, top, clear display, float, overflow, position, visibility, Z index. And list, we have different types of list, ordered list and unordered list. We can apply styles to lists also. What are the properties that are associated with lists? It can be a list style image, list style type. So values, what are these values? Each CSS declaration also contains a value for a property. Example, if I say color is a property, value can be red, blue or green or some other color, black, brown, etc. So that value, we have two types of values, one is predefined values and other one is user defined. Predefined, example for predefined values are red, blue colors. There are 17 colors. All those color names are predefined. Other types of values are size of the text. I can give different sizes, 8, 9 or 10. So color names are predefined. Suppose one example, if I take name of the color is red, so that is the value. Name of the value is red, or it can be hot pink or etc. Its hot pink is only supported in CSS3 only. So we can have predefined names or methods for applying colors. RGB is a method used to specify 3 different colors, red, blue, green, values ranging from 0 to 255. So each value here, 3 parameters we are passing to RGB method. The first value indicates that is the value of red, green and the blue. Okay. So 0 indicates no color, no red. Suppose if I take the first parameter, that is indicates value of red, 0 indicates no red component and 255 indicates maximum value of the red. Okay. Similarly, green and blue, mixing these 3 colors we can get remaining colors. So the proportion of the values passing to the RGB will decide the color. The alternate way of assigning color values is hexadecimal. So hexadecimal are always prefixed with hash symbol. As we have 3 colors RGB, each color is represented by 2 digits ranging from 00 to FF. Okay. FF is nothing but 255 in decimal. So either I can use RGB method or I can use hexadecimal to specify the color value for a color attribute. We have one more method, RGBA. This is similar to RGB. Along with that, one more additional property can be set, that is transparency. Okay. RGB takes 4 parameters. First 3 parameters are RGB values and the last parameter is amount of transparency. Okay. 0 indicates fully transparent and 1 indicates fully opaque. So in between 0 to 1 we need to specify the 4th parameter. So next is HSL. We can use HSL also to specify the color. HSL is nothing but hue, saturation and light value. So this is available only in CSS. HSLA is also available. A is nothing but alpha, that is the 4th parameter that defines the transparency, color transparency. This HSL was designed in 1970 by the computer graphic researchers, which is more closely aligned with the way the human eyes perceive. Okay. So this is how we can specify HSL in percentage or in values. Units, values, few values will have units, few doesn't have, like color red, it will not have any units. If I take font size, it can be 8 or 10 value with the units, whether it is in pixel, px or it is in millimeter or it is in centimeter. So that units, when it comes to units, we have 2 types of units, absolute unit and relative unit. So we usually use relative units, we don't use absolute units. What do you mean by absolute unit? If I say inch, inch remains same in both the devices. So we should not use inch absolute value in our web pages, because web pages will be viewed by multiple devices with different screen sizes. The element should be rendered according to the size of the screen. So we need to specify units in terms of relative units. So we have different units: px, pixel. In CSS2 this is relative measure, while in CSS3 it is absolute. So pixel, what is the actual size of pixel? It is 1/96th of an inch. So it is relative in CSS2 and absolute in CSS3. So when I say absolute, its size is 1/96th of inch. We have EM equal to the computed value of the font size property of the element on which it is used. It is used for font sizes with EM unit is relation to the font size of the parent. So EM is nothing but calculated value of the size of the root element. So it is this is a relative element, and we have one more unit called percentage, a measure that is always relative to another value. So I can specify size in percentage also. Suppose if I want to divide a screen into different frames, I can specify in percentage. So the navigation bar, I want that to be 25%, remaining 75% is to display the content. Navigation 25% and 75% is actual another frame, that is the page which displays the content. So that is a relative. And we have cm, centimeters, absolute, millimeter is an absolute value, pt, points is equal to 1/72th of an inch, pc, pica equal to 1/6th of an inch. This is also an absolute. We have rem, root elements font size. So if I want to refer the root element to set the units for the one of the child, then I will use rem. Root for all the elements is HTML. So HTML have certain default sizes. Elements in that will be assigned. It is relative and used only in CSS3. We have one more unit, VW, VH stands for viewport width and viewport height. Both are percentage values between 0 to 100. Viewport is nothing but a browser's window. This allows an item to change the size when the viewport is resized. Okay. So when we resize the screen, the elements which have been assigned with these units, those elements will resize according to the size of the root size, this browser window. Next is inches, it's an absolute value. Next comes location of CSS. When a browser reads a style sheet, it will format the HTML document according to the information in the style sheet. So HTML has to read the style sheet and apply it to the elements. So if it wants to read, where are the locations? I can paste the CSS elements, CSS styles. There are 3 locations where you can paste the CSS style rules, so that the HTML page can read the styles and apply it to the elements. So one is inline style sheets, CSS, internal style sheets and external style sheets. These are the 3 locations where we can specify the style rules that can be read by the HTML elements and apply it to the elements. Inline CSS. An inline style may be used to apply a unique style for a single element. Now if I take an HTML page which has multiple elements, I want to apply style for a single element, then I will apply inline style sheet embedded into that HTML tag. Suppose if I want to apply style for paragraph, P style is the attribute. I will use style attribute is equal to color blue. So this color blue will be applied only to the paragraph. Similarly, if I want to apply inline style sheet for other elements, then I need to use style tag for other elements and define the style rule. So here the style rule contains style is equal to declarations. Okay, here we have 2 declarations, One declaration is color red and text align is center. These are two declarations defining two properties, color as well as text alignment. What are the advantages of inline style sheets? Inline styles are handy for quickly testing out a style change. So I want to just test out few styles. I can use inline and see whether the style suits for my need. Okay. Once I finalize the styles, I will write these styles in the external style sheet. So during testing purpose, I will go for inline style sheets, and to see the look and feel, I will use inline style sheet. For this, we no need to create a separate document. We no need to have a separate CSS file. Without that, we can test it in an HTML page itself. What are the disadvantages? Adding CSS rules to every HTML element is time consuming and makes our HTML structure messy. So I cannot depend on inline style sheet. If I want to apply styles for multiple elements in a page, I need to define for every element, which is time consuming task. Okay, if I have multiple elements, multiple paragraphs in a page, I want to apply certain color to the paragraph, then I need to define it in every element, in every paragraph element. That is time consuming. Styling multiple elements can affect our page size and download time. So applying style for multiple elements also increases the file size and increases the download time. So what is the solution for that? We have internal style sheets, also called as embedded style sheets. So to define embedded style sheets, we use style tag. To define inline style sheet, we use style attribute inside the elements. To define internal style sheets, we use style tag within the head element. So it comes inside the head element, and style tag has the opening and closing tag. In between, we will define the rules. Rules contains selector as well as declaration block. Body is the selector which selects the HTML body, and H1 is an selector which selects the H1 tag. So what are the styles applied to the body? Background color Lenin. Background color of body is Lenin, and color of H1 content is maroon, and margin left is 40 pixel. Like this, I can define multiple styles or multiple rules in a style tag, and wherever I use tags, there these styles are applied. Of course, body will be a single tag. I can have multiple headers in the page. All those headers will use the style defined here. Okay, styles defined here. Color maroon and margin left 40 pixel. So what are the advantages? We need to define styles at one place and applicable for multiple elements in the page. So I define style for H1 at one place, and multiple H1 tags will read styles from this single H1. Advantages. Just as with inline styles, embedded styles can however be helpful when quickly testing out style that is used in multiple places within a single HTML document. So the scope of these styles is a single page. So define inside the head tag, and the same styles will be applied to multiple elements of same type. Okay. Disadvantages. While better than inline styles, so in inline every element needs to be defined style, whereas in embedded, define in a single place and apply to multiple elements in a page. That is embedded or internal style sheets. Since each HTML document has its own style element, it is more difficult to consistently style multiple documents when using embedded styles. So using of inline as well as internal style sheets are discouraged. There is one disadvantage. We always prefer to use external style sheet. What are external style sheets?